Hey guys, we're working on the problems in the arcade, the section called The Core, and also this is me, I'm on the video now. I'm getting better at YouTube all the time, so this is a new feature for me. Bear with me while I figure out how to add like title cards and other stuff. So, the core, we'll start with a pretty simple one here. My solutions actually ends up looking a little bit long, but good opportunity for us to use the map and the reduce functions. It's super powerful functions for solving all sorts of problems. So I'm going to solve it my way, and then at the end we'll look at this like sexy, fast way to solve it. So, given a 2-digit integer n, return the sum of its digits. So for n equals 29, the sum is going to be 2 plus 9 equals 11. Okay, makes sense. Seems like it'd be easy. Can't really operate on an integer the way we want to like that. We can't just split an integer in half super easily without doing some math. But we can just split a string in half really easily. So we're going to take n and we're going to convert that to a string. So then n is going to look like this. It's going to be 29 as a string instead of as a number. And then it's really easy to split a string. We have a split method. And whatever argument we pass in here to split, that tells it where to split. Just think if you had a sentence and you want to split it by words, you pass in this, and it would split it at the space, and you get an array back of each word in that sentence. In our case, we want to split just right down the middle, so we're going to pass an empty string, and we'll just split it in half into an array of 2 and 9. So now we have 2 and 9. And now we want to turn those back into numbers. So we want to run parse int is how you take a string and turn it into a number. But we want to run it on every number in our array. Right now we have an array that looks like this. Right? So we want to run parse int on every number. And a way to run a function on every number or every value in an array is map. That's the best way to do it. That's what it's for. So we're going to take map, and then we pass the map a function to run over every value in our array, and that's going to give us back a new array with all those values transformed by that function. So we're going to say take x, or use a fat arrow function, just takes this argument x into our function, and we want to parse int on every x, on every value we pass in there. So now we're going to get back an array with numbers in it, not strings. Before we had an array with strings, now they're numbers, and now we want to take this array and we want to add these numbers together. And this is kind of a common problem you'll run into for a bunch of different problems, and the best answer for this is the reduce function, this really powerful function. What reduce does is it takes two arguments basically. We're going to pass it a function kind of like map, and it's going to run that function over every value in the array, but it's going to accumulate all those values together. So we're also going to pass it an initial value, and it's going to start, we're going to pass it 0 to start, it's going to run the function on every number, and it's going to take that number back, and it's going to accumulate all of them together. So it makes a lot of sense for adding numbers together. It's pretty simple. Normally reduce can be kind of counterintuitive, but let's work through it. Reduce. So we're going to give the reduce function 2 arguments, and the first argument we're going to give it is a function, so it's going to look kind of confusing if you're not used to this. We're going to give it a function that takes x and y, and whenever you use reduce, x, the first value you pass into the function that you pass to reduce is the accumulator, and then this is the current value being operated on. So this is what's adding up all the numbers over here, and this is going to be 2 and it's going to be 9. And then we're going to say for every, we want to add the accumulator to every value we're operating over. And then this is our second argument that we're passing into the reduce function. This is our initial value of 0. Sorry, I forgot, this is a function we're making, so we need to do fat arrow. So take these arguments and then run this on them. That's reduce, and reduce is complicated at first. I think this is a good way to sort of learn how it works, is with this addition function, and if you don't get it right away, this one's pretty easy to memorize. It's a really easy way to add everything in an array together. But if you want to run through it again, this is our accumulator value, and we're starting at 0, so our accumulator is 0, and when we're going to add 0 plus 2, we're going to add 2, and then our accumulator is now 2, and then our next value, 9, is going to be, we're going to add that to the accumulator, 9 plus 2, and then reduce is going to give us back 9 plus 2, so it's going to give us 11. So that's exactly what we want to do, and then all we need to do is return this from our input, and let's run our test. Correct, we did it. So let's just look at that one really quick little solution. It's going to be like the top one in here. So they went the math route. For me, it's easier to think about a string and operate on a string that way, but this is how you do it with the math route. So you take your number, and let's work with 29 again. This is the modulus operator. So modulus takes the number, divides it by this number, and then gives you the remainder. So for 29, it's going to, 29 divided by 10 is going to be, 10 is going to go into 29 twice with the remainder of 9. So this is going to give us back 9. It's going to give us that number on the right-hand side. And then what's going on over here, now we have 9 here, and then math.floor n divided by 10. So it's going to take 29 divided by 10, which is going to give you 2.9, and what math.floor does is it rounds down to the lowest whole value, to the lowest integer. So it's going to take 2.9, round that down to 2. So you end up with 2 over here, 9 over here, 2 plus 9 equals 11. That's a clean way to solve that. And yeah, that's, if your brain goes there to think about it in a math way, it makes sense. We're adding numbers together. That's one way to do it. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.